How's it going, everyone? Hope you're doing well. I don't know if you've been reading some of the headlines, some of the stock market headlines over the past couple of weeks. One of them is the fact that Michael Burry, the famous man for shorting the housing market in 2008, what's he been doing lately? One of the things that he's done lately is he's sold out of his entire stock portfolio and he's replaced his whole portfolio with just one stock. That is a crazy move. That's like someone just shaving off all of their hair for no reason. If we look at his recent moves as per his latest filings, look at this. Sold 100% of Bristol Myers Squibb, sold 100% of Bookings Holding, sold all of his Alphabet, sold all of his Cigna, all of his Meta, all of his Facebook, all of his Ovintiv. All of these stocks he sold, and he's bought just one stock, and that is Geo Group Incorporated. Now, okay, if you look at his previous history, he has been known to sell a lot of his stocks before. If we take a look at the quarter before that, he sold all of these stocks, 100% of. But what he normally does is he buys back different stocks, okay? So look at the third quarter of 2021. He sold all of these stocks and he bought back a couple of stocks. This second quarter of 2021, he sold basically a ton of his portfolio, but then he bought also a lot of different stocks. The interesting thing about this quarter is that, okay, we've seen this before where he just sells everything basically, but this time he only comes back and he buys just one stock, this one stock called Geo Group Incorporated. So that's a bit weird. So he bought 501,000 shares in Geo Group stock, Geo Group stocks. So 500,000 shares times 8, 500,000 times 8 is 4 million. So it's around a $4 million bet. Maybe at the time the share price was around $7. So maybe it was around 3.5 million. It's around that amount anyway. But importantly, this is not a massive bet for Burry. Normally his stock portfolio is worth over $100 million, well over $100 million. So a $4 million bet, that is not a massive bet, but still, it's his only US stock that he holds in his portfolio, so it must mean something to him. He must see some potential in this stock. So what is the Geo Group? So it's a publicly traded C corporation that invests in private prisons and mental health facilities in North America, Australia, South Africa, and the United Kingdom. Headquartered in Florida, the company's facilities include illegal immigration detention centers, minimum security detention centers, and mental health and residential treatment facilities. It also operates government-owned facilities pursuant to management contracts. Okay, so they work alongside the government. As of December 2021, the company managed and owned 86,000 beds at 106 facilities. In 2019, agencies of the federal government of the United States generated 53% of the company's revenues. So their relationship with the United States brings them a lot of money, essentially. But, you know, if we sum this up, they're a company that invests in private prisons and mental health facilities. So if you think about it, prisons and mental health, what is the trends that we're kind of seeing in these two areas? Well, the one thing's for sure, in mental health, that is just shooting up. Mental health issues has been increasing over the past decade by a lot. I can give you an example. At my old house where I used to live, just down the road from it was a mental health hospital, and they were building on this hospital massively. They said they were going to have the project done by the end of 2021, and I don't even think it's fully completed yet. So they're doing a lot of building, and at least for the trends that I'm looking at, mental health is shooting up. Prisons, it kind of seems like it's the same story as well. There's more divisiveness in society, and I'm sure prisoner numbers are probably increasing as well. And even if they're not increasing, it's still a very stable business model. I mean, at least from the way I see it, I don't see prisoner numbers decreasing massively anytime soon. So, from a business perspective, as weird as it sounds, it is actually quite a good way to make money from mental health and to profit from owning prisons. And this is what Burry's doing. I don't see this as a bad business at all. If we take a look at the numbers are pretty nice on this stock, okay? So, the Geo Group Incorporated, first thing that stood out to me was over the past 5 years, what has happened to the stock price? It has shot down it's dropped like a knife. Okay, that's the analogy I was thinking of. So it went from $27.50 to about a third of what it was to $8.12. So Burry is known as a value investor, as a contrarian type of investor. I mean, he thought the complete contrary to what people were thinking back in 2008. They were all buying up housing and housing mortgages. Burry was shorting it. So he's a contrarian style investor. Another interesting thing was the market cap compared to the bigger stocks, compared to most stocks, is actually very small. It's only $1 billion company. So what that means is there's less competition from other analysts and there's less money getting shot at the stock, especially from the passive index funds. This is not the typical type of stock that those passive index funds would invest in. So that does create often a cheaper price. And often, I'm saying often quite a lot, I know, but I want to be specific with my words. Often it can create opportunities in terms of price. And when we look at the PE ratio for the company, 15, that is pretty good in today's market. So yeah, at the second quarter of 2022, this stock, Geo Group, the stock that invests in prisons and mental health facilities, is the only US stock that Burry owns in his portfolio. So remember, he doesn't have to disclose his outside and his international investments in the US filing. So I'm sure he owns a bunch of other stocks in different countries and different sectors throughout the world, but that is not public information. And because it's not public information, I cannot disclose it to you. And remember, another thing to remember, this is information as per the second quarter of 2022, which is his latest filings. It corresponds to the end of June. So that was a couple of months ago, and his positions have probably slightly been adjusted since then. But again, all we can look at is the latest information that we have, and this is all we have. So I don't know, what is it that Burry's seen in the market that he has to sell out of everything? And this time he doesn't buy back in big into the market. He only buys a little bit, $4 million worth of this one stock. So he only owns a very small amount of stocks in the US. I guess all we can say is he's actually putting his money where his mouth is when it comes to his recent tweets and the fact that he sees the market going down a lot more than what it has gone down by. That's what he's been tweeted about, and he's got his money where his mouth is. He only owns a tiny amount of US stocks.